I'd like to call the students to order. Please rise for the pledge and invocation.
All right. Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you for a beautiful day here in Ocean Springs. We're just so grateful, Lord, to be able to meet together in a city setting, Lord, and to practice our government, to be free. And so we pray for our mayor and board of aldermen that you give them wisdom as they make decisions. And Lord, it's a special time, Lord. It's World Down Syndrome Month, and we want to stop and take pause and celebrate life. And so we're grateful we can do that tonight. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll have a motion to accept the agenda. Any amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll get started with a proclamation, but first, actually, we have a presentation from the library, which is here, so come on down.
Good evening. My name is Judy Dalgo, and I'm the chair of the Ocean Springs Library Advisory Board. I want to thank the mayor and the aldermen for allowing us to pay tribute to our friend and board colleague, Joey Rice. Prior to her death in February, she had been a member of the Ocean Springs Library Board for close to 15 years. Joey has left a positive impression on our community in many ways, through art, interest in literature, the environment, civil rights, and community service. She was an extraordinary artist and art curator. Having received her BA in art from USM in 1970, Joey's work was exhibited throughout the United States and extensively through the South, including invitational exhibitions at the Mississippi Museum of Art, the New Orleans Academy of Art, and the New Orleans Museum of Art. Locally, you could have seen Joey's work at the Walter Anderson Museum, the Mary C. O'Keefe, the Orr O'Keefe, the Gulf Coast Community College. Currently, I invite you to see Joey's exhibit at the Dusty Bonjay Foundation in Biloxi. I'd like to share a poem that reminds me of Joey's quiet spirituality and passion for seeing beyond the ordinary. My daughter said I was going to cry, so I'm going to pause for a moment. She said, you always cry. So luckily you can see the poem just in case. Okay, the poem. The World I Live In by Mary Oliver. I refuse to live locked into the orderly house of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one. Thank you.
My name is Yvonne Carden. I'm the branch manager at the library. And a close friend of Joey's said that she was a very dedicated friend, not one to jump in with guidance, but a true listener. He called her earthy. In her art, she used natural dyes for color, and paper she made herself, some using old library card catalog pieces. He admired her as an artist that was not swayed by trends. Instead, she had the guts to do what she wanted to do, and she did it all of her life. Joey's creative hand was also seen throughout the Ocean Springs community. She was the first curator of the Walter Anderson Museum from 1994 until 2000. And the curator at the Mary C. O'Keefe Cultural Arts Center from 2005 till 2010. She even had a hand in the curation of the Ocean Springs History Museum. But early in her career, Joey was also a clerk at the Ocean Springs Library, when it was even in this building. And it was here that she began a love and dedication to our library, one that would lead her to an appointment to the Ocean Springs Library Advisory Board in 2006. Joey was still serving our library and the Ocean Springs community when she died. Joey was an Ocean Springs girl. She dedicated her life to art, literature, and literacy of our community. And for that, we thank her and say thank you to her family. Joey's daughters are here tonight and are graciously donating a piece of art to the library. May I introduce Adele and Mimi, Joey's daughters. The piece that they're donating is called Nocturne 3. And Mayor, would you like to come down and maybe take a picture with them? We would really appreciate that. We'd love to advertise this on Facebook. So ladies, why don't you come on over here?
You can take it, or if you have somebody else that you were.
No, that's great.
Okay.
I think Judy's going to take a picture of you.
Well, hang on, let me get out.
Okay.
Even in the background.
Again, we want to thank you, Mayor, and all the aldermen. Thank you for allowing us to do this.
Thank you.
All right, and very happy. Thank y'all for doing that. That was
Thank you.
Next up, we have a proclamation for World Down Syndrome Day. So I'd like to invite the family of Senator Hudson to come on up here. And Dr. Mike, would you like to join us? Come on down here. Josh Williams, how are you? Looking good. All right. Whereas 1 in every 700 babies is born with Down syndrome, representing approximately 6,000 births per year in the United States. And whereas the National Down Syndrome Society, the leading human rights organization for all individuals with Down syndrome, envisions a world in which all people with Down syndrome have the opportunity to enhance their quality of life, realize their life aspirations, and become valued members of a welcoming community. And whereas recent advancements in Down syndrome research have proven that early intervention, education, social support, therapeutic care, and positive public attitudes improve each individual's chances of living an independent, productive, and satisfying life. Whereas individuals with Down syndrome should have equal opportunity to achieve the universally desired goals of self-fulfillment, pride in their achievements, inclusion in their community, and reach their fullest potential. Now, therefore, I, Shade Hobson, Mayor of the City of Ocean Springs, do hereby proclaim March 21st, 2021 as World Down Syndrome Day.
Of course. So this journey, it wasn't one that I was expecting to be on. And at 41, we found out we were pregnant after our daughter came 10 years earlier. We had a baby every decade. And when we found out, when we got the diagnosis of Down syndrome, there was nothing but just joy that we were going to get to bring our little boy to be here with us. The scary side was his heart. Hudson's already beat Tracy at leukemia, and he's already had open heart surgery. And he does everything, he approaches everything with a smile and just love for this life. And I've learned so much from him. I'm going to start crying. I know the one lady left already, but you know, it's one of those things that Down syndrome has blessed our family, and there's a lot of laws and a lot of things that are unfortunately wrong written for today. And so as a mom and an advocate, I've just decided that I'm going to start chipping away at those laws, making this world a better place for our friends, people we love very much. And you know, I just want to leave this world better than
couple public hearings to do, actually, just one public hearing, so, Carolyn, you wanna, turn on the microphone.
Yeah.
Carolyn, you wanna give us a rundown on this one?
Yeah, this sketch plat was heard by the planning commission last week, and it's a very odd remnant type property on Bechtel. It is zoned RD, which is single or two-family residential. So it looks like, if you look at the map, it really looks like a series of triangles. It's very odd shaped, and it also has the JCUA lift station that fronts Bechtel. So it's been very problematic. There's been attempts made over the years to find a good plan, and this one will create, essentially, it'll create 3 lots plus a common and storage area in the tip of the triangle. When you look at the triangle that's on the far east end, that won't even be used at all. That's not even really a part of the development because you can't get to it very easily, so that will be left alone. But in the tip of the triangle just next to it will be the storage area. It'll be accessed through access easements and a series of flag lots. Typically, flag lots and easement overlays are not preferred in the UDC, but this is the perfect example of a property that it fits well. So it'll have 3 lots that are being developed, and again, this is the sketch plat phase, so it's just it's the conceptual phase and the boundary line. The 3 lots would allow for single or two families. So you would have up to 6 families, depending on if they build a single or a two family on each lot. So this is the sketch plat phase. The information provided in your packet is what the planning commission heard, any input that was received. And the one thing that I would point out is the applicant did talk about putting a fence and make sure that the storage area was secured. It wouldn't become a problem, and that was really my issue.
All the water meters are gonna be on back over for that?
Yes.
All 3 of those lots, they're gonna run the water line on that?
Yes, all the meters would be on. And that's what they would have, a series of easements, and that'll be worked out. They're still working with the exact layout. That'll come in preliminary.
What about sewer, Alan? Is that, are they gonna be trying to fence, or are they gonna?
They could probably gravity to the sewer line in the back that runs parallel with that ditch.
And that's what they're looking
There's
at.
2 manholes already on that lot.
So they have several options, and they're trying to, once they get through sketch plat, they'll be determining exactly how to provide the infrastructure. But it's just very
Pull
difficult.
up page 2 of 4, so I can see this screen.
Carolyn, you have a resident that couldn't be here tonight that
Yeah.
expressed interest in this. Can they send their comments to you
Yeah,
later?
yeah.
So Alan, that, on the north side, the 3 lots there on that slide, it shows a, is this a 15-foot?
Yeah, that's the drainage easement.
That's the drainage easement on the north side?
Yeah, it comes off of Hickory right there between the second, the 3rd and 4th house. And runs back to
So the utilities would be south side of the
The
property?
sewer's on the south side, runs parallel with that ditch, the property line's off of, I can't even think of the next road here. Straight behind the lift station.
So they would be behind the houses on Sherwood Circle?
Yeah, on the north side of the ditch behind Shipwood Circle.
And I guess the last question I have is,
It is still sketch, so yeah. Yeah, a lot of those things were discussed both in conversations with the applicant and during the planning commission meeting, and they'll be addressing any of those concerns in the next phase.
Count what zoning
It's RD.
is this? R3?
RD.
D, okay.
D is in dog, it's for duplex, so it's either single or duplex on each lot. So that's why I say it would be up to 6 families. They can build a duplex on each lot and have 6 families, or they can build 1 on each lot, so that's.
Just curious, what would that be in the old zoning? Would it be R?
R3.
That's what I'm saying, you know, R3. It's
So now we
single-
created an
Single
R.
or duplex.
Right, R3 is now small lot, single family, and RD is duplex, so we could kind of segregate those.
Are these lots big enough for?
They'll be big enough for duplex, yeah. They met the required, I'm I'm not gonna lie, I'll get mixed up with the old code and the new code, but if there is a specific square footage, I believe it's 5,000 square feet per family unit for duplex, so they each only have to be 10,000 square feet.
Looks like the smallest one's like 7,500.
About the same size.
And that might have changed, I can't, don't
So
quote me on it.
basically, they're gonna do something like what's on World Filler.
Right, it'll be something similar. But that's really, the lot is extremely the property is extremely problematic. This is really the only thing that I've seen, in the request that have made that makes sense.
And it does, like you said, it's not ideal, but it does fit the UDC.
Well, Carol, I just got one left. What about the lots that are adjacent to it? Are they comparable? In other words, are they like RB or
There is
R1, R2, or?
There is smaller lots in the area. Some of them I believe are R3 and RD. I couldn't tell you exactly how many, but it is comparable to the,
So it's not R1, okay.
All right, we'll need to go into public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So, second?
Motion by Mr. Black, second by Mr. Gill. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are now in public hearing. If there's anybody who would like to speak either for or against the sketch plat, they come to the podium now.
I'm interested to see how they're gonna drain it. Once you pick all that lot, fill it in houses. If I'm not mistaken, Alan, the ditch that runs, a covered ditch that runs back onto Government Street has a bow in it, like this. That big ditch comes down and stops up, we have to go out there and blow it out every time. Now, what has to happen is, they need to take that out and they need to pay for it, okay? To improve that drainage, because they're creating a problem. Because all of that will flood around there. And, there's no way to get it out except that, ditch going to Government Street, or that pipe. What happened was, the parking lot at the 7-Eleven, the pipe caved in and we had to go out there and replace it. Well, when they replaced it, they didn't put it in the same level as the other pipe. So what you got is not only a mismatch, but you've got a bow in it. And the bow was, I think, caused by a tree root or something that went up under it, because we've had that for years. We have to go out there and constantly blow the thing out once it stopped up with leaves. So that's my only concern. I welcome the project, but please don't put any more water on those people than they already, because that whole street floods. And the only way out is that one pipe. Joey, you know about it. I'm sure you've been called many times.
How do we get that fixed, Mayor?
Does engineering address drainage?
They will at first preliminary class. That'll be in the next
Okay.
phase, and I'll be sure to point out those issues, and I'll go over them with Alan.
Okay. Does anybody else who would like to speak either for or against the sketch plat? I see none.
I'll make a motion to go out of public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Second motion to come out by Mr. Hampton, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Fine, that's what yours is. It's fine.
Motion. Just say approve on
I'd like to make a motion to approve item A for Becker Lakes subdivision.
it. Motion by Mr.
Second.
Alderman, second by Mr. Gill. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, this is the agenda public comment section. If anybody has any public comments on anything specific on the agenda, you have up to 3 minutes to address the board, and you can come to the podium now. All right, seeing none, we will go to old business. Item A, Ricky, did you put this? Mr. Hoffman, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the reason why I put this on here was, the preposition contracts are for, no matter, if we need them or not, but if we do need them, they're there. And I think that, it was very successful for Hurricane thing that the only person, or the only company we don't have is really a consulting company, and I know Patty sent an email out, and I agree with what she said on the email, that they're after a certain percentage of what FEMA pays. But I do think that we as a board need to consider having one, whether we task them or not, because it doesn't cost us nothing. But if we have something like a Katrina, then with all hands on deck, we're not gonna be able to handle, the paperwork and the amount of things that need to be done, like staging yards and stuff like that. So when hurricane season coming up, what I would like to see the board do is to go out for RFQ for the consultant, for the monitor, and for the hauler. And then it would be a specific, well, the next part's next, but that's what I would like to see us do.
No, I agree 100%. Like you said, there's no fee involved until we activate them on a storm. So it'd be great to have it in place, and it did work well last time for the monitor and the hauler that we had right there the next day.
And I will say that the hauler did a terrific job, and the debris monitor. But if we want to keep the hauler, because his prices were cut compared to a lot of companies. So if we want to extend that one, that's fine.
I think that would be prudent.
But I think as far as the monitor and the consultant and RFQ.
Yeah, I think, going to your next item there, I'm jumping ahead, Mayor, but it's just this discussion as well. If we do form a committee to review RFQs, I think we should go ahead and start that process, start those conversations before we receive RFQs and see when we want to do it, how we want to do it, and what thresholds before we would start activating these people for the storms.
Well, I think the committee that I was talking about really is not going to have any leeway in having basically executing into the contracts. That's going to come from the mayor and the board at the time. Instead of, I guess we can either vet it all off as a board, or we can get 3 people together and go through the RFQ books. Because I mean, the RFQ books are pretty lengthy. I mean, they offer a lot of information. And if we had 3 people go through them, it might be better, and bring the findings to the board, and then let the board make a decision.
I like that idea better than trying to hash it all out up here. That decision, you get a 3 board member, and then you let them hash it out.
Thank you, right.
Really, John?
Well, when it makes sense, I do, right?
I think that their services are pretty much cut and dry for what they do. They all have the same responsibilities to be able to, for us to, turn the paperwork into FEMA. So, if y'all in favor of that, then I would make a motion to go ahead and go out for RFQ for the debris monitor and the consultant.
I'll second that.
All right, motion, Ms. Thomas, second by Mr. Gill. Any further discussion?
Only that we really have to consider the workload by city staff right now. So we need to be able to work around their time. They're really bogged down.
Right.
And I'm sure you saw the whole email and conversation with Patty. We need to really be mindful of that and not throw too much at them at once either.
I think we already have RFQ requirements already written.
Yeah, you can get the one.
I understand they have a lot. We're trying to get Zeta, taken care of with the insurance and stuff, and trying to get stuff fixed around the city. But,
I guess what I'm saying is we have a little time, let's go rush it, but let's get the process started.
right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next thing is, are we gonna, the whole board wanna look at it, or are we just gonna, committee?
That's a committee, they bring it to us. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Have a proposal on that, or we'll wait till later?
To me, Mike, Rob, Ricky could probably read all these things better than me. As far as specifications.
As you're willing to admit that.
I'm just saying, the 3
Yeah, you better put me on there,
Yeah, the 3 should be
You on a bunch
Sure,
of
what's
bids? You good with that?
Yeah.
Motion?
Yeah, I make a motion for, Mike, Rob, and myself.
All right, motion has Mr. Hodges, second Mr. Belvin. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Before y'all move on, I think y'all wanted to make a motion on extending the hauler contract. I think that needed to be separate than the other motion. I believe it is. I think y'all only
Yeah,
did.
we just did the reline thing.
Rob, why don't you make down, because you go to the company meetings, I don't remember.
And I probably need to look at the agreement to make sure there's the option to extend it. Would you like me to do that first?
Yes, please. We can do that next week.
Yes.
Good job.
All right, item C, discuss adopting resolutions providing con service to Ocean Springs Baseball Organization in lieu of payment for advertising city resources. Basically, this is a resolution to allow them to have the golf cart.
Right, so we did this last year, but of course COVID happened, so not a whole lot of baseball tournaments or anything went on at the sportsplex. So I was approached a few weeks ago by Mr. Robbie Burgess about bringing this up again for the board. So this was approved last year for the 2020 baseball season, and this is just us revisiting it this year. It allows for the baseball organization to use the city-owned golf cart after hours when it's not being used for city purposes. And that's being used as a donation or being given as a donation in lieu of advertising. So obviously the baseball organization and the sports complex brings in a lot of people every year, so this would be used for advertising purposes essentially.
That'd be great for elderly people all the way in that back field.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've done it before, but I don't know why we stopped, you know. I'd like to make a motion to approve 6C.
Motion.
Discussion.
Motion by Mr. Gill, seconded by Mr. Blackman.
And 6D, technically item D, and I didn't catch this when I was reviewing it, technically item D is supposed to be exhibit A to item C. So just include, acceptance of both, yeah.
C and D, C is.
Yeah.
Well, I amend my motion.
It's adopting the resolution which approves authorization of the MOU.
So basically, so it's a motion to approve items 6C and D, please.
6C and D.
Does it need to, the motion need to say that item D is an exhibit to?
Right, so you just need to do a motion to authorize, or to motion to adopt resolution authorizing the execution of the MOU with, and hold harmless agreement with the baseball organization.
Put that in the form of motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Gill, seconded by Mr. Blackman. Any further discussion?
Very helpful.
See, he's been doing it long enough, he knows just to say move. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Before we move on, I want to say that this couple of golf carts we have in the field are starting to look pretty ragged. I think that down the road, and they make a lot of trips because they're only 4-seaters. I think that somewhere down the road, when we look at golf carts, we need to talk about 6 or 8-seaters.
Bring them to the Bobby Cox garage. You can fix them up for you.
I don't think they're used as much to transport the attendees. We've actually got the parking now is open around the back of the field, which is a whole lot shorter walking people go, so the cart shouldn't be used near.
I saw it bringing some people to their cars.
Well, last night, nobody used the back parking, it looked like it was still a construction.
Well, that's another.
That's another.
Yeah, we had a lot of young crew out there.
Chris, just let us know how it's going.
I can do it just to get rid of the bats.
If we need to get another.
Does that back parking lot, just aside note, I didn't see its size, does it have a handicap area?
Yeah, it's got handicap parking, and Alan was making signs, I hope today, to put on the fence to let everybody know it's open.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but if we had a sign knowing that they had a golf cart that they could use instead of walking, you may get more people than that.
The golf carts have been out there for several years, they're used to that, so.
Well, I didn't see him out there the other night.
There's
It's
two of them
been
down
behind the shed.
Need new batteries.
There's two down right now.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Where they need
batteries?
chargers, yeah. The chargers are out, so they have to get the chargers with it.
Don't let them go too long because they'll kill those
I
batteries.
think they probably had them on too long, so they're gonna have to get new batteries.
Yeah.
But there's one that's operational, that's the one that's used by the station.
just let us know how. All right, item A on new business, ordinance to amend the code of ordinance. This is involving regarding bicycle and skateboard operation on sidewalks, basically just prohibiting it.
Right, so bicycles are already prohibited, and this was just brought up by Ricky to add skateboards. So it's a real simple addition. We just added in the or skateboard portion.
Yeah, the businesses are starting to complain because they're zooming across the sidewalks and people walking out of stores. And, and some of the stores, their doors swing out, so somebody.
Yeah, I've seen them, I've been seeing them now. Go right down the side.
I tend to agree with you, but I tell you, skateboarding is very popular in the city, and this is something I'd like to see us move forward on, considering getting a skate park built for these kids.
Yeah, that's important.
Right. I think that needs to be one of our next big projects.
Talk about that in 4 years.
Next administration will take that.
No, I agree, I agree with Robert, we need to provide a place for them in some fashion. All right, anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion to approve item A by Mr. Alderman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gill. Any discussion? All right, we'll need a roll call, Mr. Gill.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes.
So that's immediate.
Yes, because it's for public safety purposes.
All right, and Carolyn, can you give us a rundown on item B?
Yeah.
A planning commission recommendation, Myrtle.
This is another one of those things that have come to you before where the UDC that allows for residential properties to request a gravel driveway instead of a hard surface. And the planning commission can consider that. However, it also requires a 10-foot apron from the road, from the road in. And the primary reason for that is to contain the gravel and to make sure that there's no issues with that. However, on this property, this is an expansion of the existing driveway. It is an issue house, so the whole character of it is gravel. Additionally, it's in a very a very low traffic area, and the property does slope down from the roadway, so the chances of gravel becoming a problem going into the road are lessened. However, the planning commission heard all the recommendations. They did recommend for the approval of a gravel driveway, but they do not have the authority to waive the 10-foot apron. So for that reason, both staff and planning commission had to deny that portion of their request, and it comes to you all. It's a good thing to have in place for the vast majority of our residential property, but in this case, they did understand that there were compelling reasons, but they could not make that recommendation to you. So the applicant has appealed that so that they could both have the recommended driveway and waive the requirement for the 10-foot apron. And I believe that they're here for the applicant and his representative are both here if you have any questions on that.
See, I went and looked at the house, and it does slope
It
down.
slopes down.
And in Issue House, a lot of them all have gravel driveways, so to put concrete in there now would just take away from the effects.
And it's also, it would get you almost halfway to the house. That 10-foot apron would really change, it would look out of place.
Sound like it's grandfathered almost.
It's not grandfathered, but it's, I guess functionally, even if they were asking for a new one, it's not something that we could recommend. You would just have to make the, findings that in this particular case,
Well,
it's not necessary.
I did notice his house is below the street,
Yes.
so if you put concrete, he's gonna get plenty of.
Yeah, you would also, impact the drainage and the runoff would speed up. So there could be some negative effects at this specific location. So
This is not a high traffic road.
it's not a high traffic road at all. It's a dead end.
I think, it's warranty to allow this particular project.
So the request was then for you to, if you are in support of it, to recommend, or to uphold the recommendation, but waive the apron. I guess, Nicole, is that the way they need to, to phrase it?
The only concern I have, I'm not against it, I'm just concerned about gravel on the street. It's gonna come out of the tires, it'll get on the street, be a problem there.
And
And that's the purpose of the
That's the
waiver, is
purpose.
to stop that from happening.
And that's what, when they consider that, the fact that it is, you know, that it does slope down,
And it's
gravel
always
is not
been
what
said,
it's
it's not-
and there is an existing one that has not experienced problems. Those were the two things that were.
Once that compacts a little bit, Rob, you're right, maybe in the beginning, once it compacts a little bit,
It is,
Besides Rocky has that
they're
problem.
fixing to pave that street, so it's gonna be even higher than what it is now.
Yeah, what
It's
size
set-
rock is it?
Yeah, what size rock is it?
57.
57
Lot
stone?
7,
Y'all going with limestone?
yeah.
I think it's just gravel.
Yeah, and he has a passenger car, so, you know, tire treads are very narrow, and it's 57. I doubt it would get in his tires, I mean, unless a, you know, a bigger truck or something rolled across it.
And like what's been said, there's already a lip there to begin with, that contains the gravel, you know, the streets like here and the, you know, and then.
Yeah, it's already below, and it's fixing to get repaved, so it's gonna be higher. Because I don't think they're gonna strip it, it's gonna wind up being higher, so it's gonna be even better. So it won't get up on the road. Yeah.
It was very apparent from the planning commission report that they were across the board in favor of approving, they just
can't.
throw it away. Yeah, in this particular situation, like Rob said, or Bobby said, I think it's going to.
So we have to waive the concrete?
Right, because it's a requirement, and you can see that they have the 10-foot, what are they called?
Apron.
You'll have to waive that requirement.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to waive the requirement for the 10-foot apron and allow him to just go ahead and put his gravel driveway back in as it was before. As proposed, if,
At 105 Myrtle.
105 Myrtle.
Motion by Mr. Bellman, second by Mr. Cox. Any further discussion?
Three people to make a motion.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, we have a really fun event coming up this Thursday, and our new arts and culture coordinator, Sarah Hartwish, is going to tell us all about it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I wanted to pop in tonight to give you all a brief update on how things are going at the Mary C. This is my third week as a coordinator, and I've managed to team up with quite a few talented, creative entrepreneurs who teach in groups who put on established workshops and entertainment in the theme of what our new mission is at the Mary C. Our mission is to connect community and creatives through arts-based education and experiences. The list shown gives you an idea of who we are currently working to partner with and what they will bring to our programming. Our focus with our programming is creative career skill building. So just to give you guys an idea of some of the people that we are partnering with, obviously we have the Singer-Songwriters Alliance and Walter Anderson Theater Project, the Ocean Springs Art Association, W Art Gallery, Local Creatives Art Gallery, Ocean Springs History Museum. Some of the newer ones are Engraving Hub with Brian Milling. He's bringing laser cutters and classes, demos, and products. Swamp Girl Glass Blowing with Solange Ludwig, classes, demos, and products. Culinary Chef Demetrio Marquez. He's going to be our lead chef, and he'll bring in a rotation of other chefs for other classes. We have the Ocean Springs Garden Club. They'll be bringing horticulture workshops and demos. The Gem and Minerals group will be coming back for classes and demos. We have Gold Coast Studios with Nathan Marlowe. They've agreed to, they kind of serve our community with their work and the commercials that they're going to do for the Mary C and others, like the community live show. But beyond that, they're adding an education aspect to their business there, which will be internships and for videography and production. Painting and illustration classes and demos, mixed media classes and demos, printmaking with Michael Richardson. And then also we want to add a community wellness where that'll just be a local therapist panel, and they'll provide talks and workshops. So just to highlight a few people, Solange Ludwig, she's a local creative. She's with Swamp Girl Glass Blowing. She's grown her glass business tremendously over the last 3 years, and she recently opened her own studio and gallery in Slidell, Louisiana. This has freed her her custom mobile glass blowing setup to be permanently stationed at the Mary C for classes and demos. So that's very exciting. And then we have Michael Richardson with printmaking, and he teaches at USM and received the Fulbright grant. It's a very honorable grant in our world. And it provides, it's an international cultural exchange program where you can receive grant money to study, research, or teach abroad. And then Brian Millen with Engraving Hub is bringing digital fabrication, coding, and robotics classes to Mary C, beginning with a supply of laser cutters and 3D printers and work tables to his classroom. Very exciting. Chef Demetrio has worked in the restaurant industry on the Mississippi Gulf Coast for 30 years. He currently is a consultant for the Mississippi Hospitality and Restaurant Association. His partnership with the Mary C will focus on culinary education. Also Chef D will be bringing in a rotating list of chefs to teach a wide variety of culinary arts classes. So over the last few weeks, the city, Parks and Recs, feature partners, community leaders, and myself have come together to help clean, maintenance, organize, restock, and bring the Mary C back to life. This is just a start, but certainly a strong one. If this much can happen in 2 weeks, I'm very confident to see the Cultural Arts Center in full swing by the summer and only evolving from there. And then we can switch maybe. So speaking of starting strong, we have an upcoming event this Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. called Firefly. This is a new evening event at the Mary C. O'Keefe Cultural Arts Center where our coastal community will get to experience interactive art, technology, entertainment, and yummy food. A Night at the Firefly offers a fantastic light show that strobes with our musical entertainment, live glass blowing demos, interactive light art activities, light painting, live public art painting, and access into our galleries and history museum at no cost to the public. Our intention for this is to be an evolving monthly or every other month experience where technology is explored and our environment is transformed. As the community engages in these activities with us, this journey will become one that we go on together as we watch the Mary C blossom into our town's creative hub. Hope to see you all out Thursday night, and thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, will we be able to sign up for the culinary classes?
Yes, so everyone who's demoing will have a sign-up sheet, so if anybody's interested, we'll get their contacts and then we'll reach out to them as soon as programming starts.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question, Sarah.
Yes.
All of those programs that you advertise, that
Yes.
you have up here that you're gonna get, how do you advertise that to the public? What sources?
So right now, we are building a website, and our website will be our main source of point of sale and our calendar, and it will be how we advertise beyond social media. And I've reached out and do a press release, and I've gotten on the news for a couple of these things, and I have 2 news stations coming to the event. So, and with the help of the chamber and the city, we've been able to get it out pretty quickly. We've only been, this is my 3rd week, day 2 of the 3rd week, so.
I just wondering how you know, how do you reach out to the average person, you know?
Yeah,
in
so,
spring, I mean, it seemed like a newspaper or using in newspapers as a source.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, also we do flyers for most of our art exhibits. So I think as that settle in a little bit more, we'll do a little bit more in person and putting flyers up around locally in newspapers and news stations for sure. But this time around, we were on WXXB just a few days ago, and then WXXB and WLOX are coming to the event. So. Thanks, guys. Anything else?
Good job, quick start.
All right, next up is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything before consent?
Nobody has anything, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion, Mr. Gill, second, Mr. Envy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, next up is department reports. I have something for Keep America Beautiful, well, I guess it's actually technically Keep Mississippi Beautiful. They are giving us a bunch of wildflowers to plant around the city. I have to know by close of business tomorrow as far as how many we need from them. So I'd like all the aldermen, you can give me at some point tomorrow, it doesn't have to be tonight or right now. Just let me know what areas of your ward that you're interested in looking at wildflowers.
Is this seeds or?
Seats, yeah. Yeah, it'll take, I don't know all the specifics, and Alec can probably tell you more.
We just have to prep the areas where we're gonna plant them and then plant them, but it'll take like 2 years for everything to start where it comes right back.
How do you prep that? It'll take much labor.
I don't think, I hadn't really talked to her about how much prep it's gonna take. I don't think it will. I'm gonna get with Mike tomorrow and find out, just for sure.
Does that help with grass cutting and stuff? I mean, if they catch on, you don't have to.
You'd have flowers there, we would never cut it no more.
Yeah, it's a low maintenance, it's a low maintenance, but beautification way to.
Like on the highway on the side and stuff.
Yeah, they perennial, they come back every.
So this way, you know, there'll be some maintenance up front as far as prepping the area, making sure they take, but after it's, you know, they're set, there'll be, you know, very little to low maintenance at all. So I just think it's a good idea for both beautification and takes work off public works. But anyway, y'all just give me about a close of business tomorrow so I can let them know. All right, other than that, we have the docket of claims. Does anybody have anything for the docket of claims?
Make a motion to approve the docket of claims.
Second.
All right, motion Mr. Hoffman, second Mr. Gill, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, and Alan, discussion of water tank repairs and painting recommendation.
If you want to follow Mr. James, if he's here.
Is it that time again?
That time again.
I think that all your package, we took bids on the water tank, and we got a very good bid from Tank Pro out of Alabama. They met all the criteria for our bidding procedure, and they came in about $160,000 below our estimate. So we're asking that the board approve the award so we can move forward with this.
What color is that, same color?
So the board, the city can determine whatever color they want. That's part of the construction process when they start making submittals. You know, we'll get with the mayor and Alan, and y'all can decide whatever color you want to be. But they are gonna have the same logo that's on their down.
Sky blue.
On one side of the thing.
It's not gonna be John Deere green, it's gonna be John Gill green.
That's fine with it.
Well, Pat's not here, I was saying, that's all coming out of enterprise fund, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good deal. I'll make a motion to approve the bid, on the water tank repairs. Award that to Tank Pro Incorporated.
What tank is that?
All right, motion Mr. Murphy, second Mr. Cox, any
Wait a
discussion?
minute. What tank is that for? We vote?
It's for all three of them, John.
All three of
It's all
them?
three,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You look at good time.
I second that motion.
It don't look that bad.
Second, third by Mr. Papania. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, general public comment, if anybody has anything they'd like to address to the board. How about 3 minutes?
I have a PowerPoint. My name is Paula Richter, and my husband is Mark Grace, and we live at 516 Martin Avenue, right next to the Roost. So this is a short presentation on some of the issues that we're concerned about. So my house, go back. My house is to the right, and then the Roost is to the left, as you can see. We share the fence, and their noise and everything is in our face every day. We like all the improvements. We love the fence. There's just some concerns, and I'm just going to go through them rather quickly. Next, please. So as you can see, that's the backyard. It took over those photos. The fence is pretty. We like the fence. We're happy for the fence because it keeps us from having to deal with the day in and day out of what they're doing. Privacy is important. What we don't like about the fence is that without our permission, under the fence, they decided, without our permission, to dig a hole and bury this pipe that, speaking of drainage, I've been asking since January for paperwork from the engineers what they're going to do about drainage, because their property, when the Roost was there alone, our property flooded for them. So when they started building the other property, we wanted to know what they were going to do, what the engineer had planned. We've never gotten the paperwork for it. Come to find out after a few emails, there is no permit, there's no thought. So this is what they did. And now this drain is just pouring red clay from all that filter that they put in. That's the other side of the fence. That's what they tried to do like recently, but it's not working. So all that red clay is being poured into our backyard, and my yard and the adjacent 3 properties. That was all a long time ago a natural bayou, but they filled it in. There's a culvert back there underneath that has nothing to do with the city. It's private property. That's drainage for our properties. All that clay is being dumped into the culvert, and it's clogging it, and it's spewing clay and oils and all the other stuff that's draining through, and it's going into the bayou. It's going to kill our lawn and 3 adjacent properties. It's going to go into the bayou. So that's all red clay now. And right that little to the left, that little brushy area, that used to be a really good sized culvert, and it's slowly filling up. And when that fills up, my property and the adjacent, we're all going to turn into a big mosquito swamp.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Gill.
Is that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
is there a easement in between, like on your side, a drainage easement? Or is that just your private property?
That's my property. It has nothing to do with the city. It's been there
I
forever.
mean, just dumping that on your property?
And they are dumping that on our property without permission.
Let me say something, Carolyn, I don't know if you was on the board back then, a chick was, that, we had this happen where a neighbor would build next to another neighbor and dump all that water on the neighbor next door. So we made a motion that that was not allowed, and it's in an ordinance that we have.
It is. If this were a new development, like I said, it didn't really come through planning because it was renovations to or modifications to existing. But yes, we do have in our ordinance for development basically a net zero change in runoff. So the developer, the builder, whomever, the other property owner is responsible for not increasing their runoff. So I'm not sure. I don't know if this has gone through building department. But yes, any pipe that was included in their fence and other projects to improve their property, it should have been improved and should have had documentation that it would not increase stormwater runoff.
Darryl, you guys are meeting out there.
And we've been asking for,
Right.
since January, for some kind of paperwork that was in the process, that was thought of. And we kept getting pushed back. We have emails from Daryl and sent to Ricky about all this, and from what he found out and emailed to my husband and I, there was no permit, there was nothing to do with drainage, and he thought they just decided just to dump it in our lawn.
Right. So from my understanding, Daryl, they're having an engineer look at this, is that correct?
And I don't know, is this a spill system, last red clay one, or is this the same?
This
one?
is yesterday.
Okay, I was not made aware of that.
And wait till tomorrow. I invite everybody here to come to my house in the backyard tomorrow when we have these rains, the thunderstorms coming through. I would love, maybe LOX would like to come and visit my backyard because it is going to be ugly.
Okay, can I actually come visit your
Yes.
backyard? Because that was your
Yes.
husband actually asked me and other city employees to not step foot on this property the last time I was
He
out
said, what he said was he did not want the
this.
city to do any altercations because We don't want any altercations other than that fence, and we want them to take that water and pump it out and do whatever they need to do.
Because we had talked already, we're supposed to meet out there again tomorrow and look at it to try to figure out
I'll
what's
be
got to be
there.
done.
I'll be there, and you can come over and look at it and assess it, and I'm hoping it's running like hell, and then you can really get a good look.
I would think there'd be a lot of any damage they did to your property.
Well, yeah, and you know what, I mean, not only my property, but Billy Miller, his brother, and next door to that whole area is gonna be devastated by this. And the clay going into the bayou, that's a hazard for wildlife. I mean, the clay is just not, boy, it's just gonna make a mess.
So Darryl, who's handling this? Are you handling this?
I'm handling this. The first time this happened, and I was not made aware of this one, I went over, I made them go back there, made them take a wheelbarrow shovel, clean the mess up, and told them to put something else in place. At the same time, they were told that they could not alter the drainage without having a drainage plan approved through the city, and that they would not be allowed to issue a CO on the structure until all the drainage has been approved and everybody's happy. And that's where we're at this point. They have actually supposedly had an engineer come and looking at it. Alan and myself are going to go look at it with Stephen tomorrow. We're possibly going to try to get James to look at it also with us.
I would
to try
like
to
James
see.
to be there, because has James looked at the curb yet from Porter?
No, we're looking at all that tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that one of the owners of the roost had an engineer firm come out and looking at the curbing on that. He was like taking that into his own hands of seeing what could be done on Porter itself. I talked to him about that last week. But that was why you haven't received anything, because nothing's actually been approved and in place.
Well,
So once it's
how
done.
do we find out? Because do we have to ask every week for any kind of updates? Because it's just, it's, you know,
Well,
we have a lot, because this is just another little thing on the list.
So,
I mean,
yeah, so now, I knew there was some issues out there before. I was under the impression that they had been either solved or was in the process of being solved. So I'm gonna make sure to keep an eye on this. I'll get with Darryl, and I may come out there, hopefully, depending on what time they do it tomorrow, and I'll make sure that we stay on top of this.
Well, I'm concerned about how fast can you get that pipe through it, Darryl? That's what I'm concerned.
I'm sorry.
can you put that picture back to the pipe?
Me and Alan hadn't talked about it yet because we were waiting tomorrow to see.
Just back a little bit further.
But I've been trying to get the pipe removed, that's why, the only thing I can do is hold inspections.
We'll figure it out.
If I hold inspections, then I get the pipe removed.
He just needs to pull it out.
It might be around lunchtime. That's okay.
How
Well,
long
if
has it been going
it's
on?
an actual drainage easement, if it is an actual
It's not,
drainage easement.
it is not. When my husband bought the property, there's, no, that is nothing to do with the city. The city doesn't have anything to do with that culvert. That
How long has that
culvert,
pipe been there?
that pipe, oh, well, I guess since the 10th of February. That's
So
when it
February.
magically appeared. We had this horrible rainstorm, and my husband saw this thing in the backyard, and he went, "What is that?" And it was like the red water. It was like the Mississippi. It was terrible, and it's just very disheartening, because my yard is a sanctuary for birds and butterflies and all that.
Well, obviously, the water probably always went through there, it's just the orange, the red clay is the worst.
We've
part of
always
it.
had drainage, yes. We've always had a lot of rainwater, but it
grass
wasn't that
and
much,
not
because
much.
that house had a lot of grass there, that the original, you know, the duplex, when it was a duplex, it had a lot of grass, so it was some runoff. Most of the runoff came from the roost, and it would come under one of our little outbuildings, the original from the house, 121 years old. So a lot of that water would come from the roost and come and just sweep all this mulch and everything. Like, it looked like, you know how Katrina would leave that nice little thing of debris. That's what my backyard would look like after.
He can't put his water on you. He's not allowed to do that.
I know that.
Not even one drop.
So, let me tell Bobby. So Bobby, I went over there one day when it was raining, and what it is that part of the problem is the amount of water coming off Porter Avenue.
skirts right down the side of the roofs where that gravel is, where they have the benches and stuff. And that's the part she's talking about, where the water's coming from. So, so I know as a city, we have some things we gotta take care of too, to get the water taken care of outside of what Daryl's, projected to do with them.
All the water actually coming off of Porter and running
Well,
down.
because when we improved Porter, we started right there past the roofs. And then, so there's a low spot on the curb coming from, basically, from the front of their parking lot to in front of Kenny Holloway's house. And then the way the road comes around, all that water comes down and it goes straight down that gravel, a lot of the picnic benches.
Yeah, it's been, we've had runoff before, but it always goes away. It rains really quick. But now,
Breaking orange clay.
now it's,
Right.
yeah, now it's orange, and now it's not raining real quick because that culvert is getting clogged. And so that's a real issue.
So Daryl, are those wattles that were in the pictures new along the fence line?
That's not water, that's just leftover red clay right there.
Wattles.
Yeah, they weren't there when I was there last time.
So they probably need.
That was one of the things after the last bill that I told them they had to put something in place to stop it.
So that's a step, but they need to take a second, it looks like, with the actual outfall, both sides have to be hay bales or something to stop it.
I'm trying to get them to put it back as it was.
Okay.
And would have easily taken care of the whole problem. Red dirt is the issue.
It is, and that needs to be a diesel price.
And it's actually blowing around the pipe, because they've actually got, they got material up against the fence, but, it's going to leak around the pipe, so that's where it's coming from.
Right, if you look
It's the
at
pipe itself.
tomorrow, if you come over, it's the pipe, and then all that red clay is starting to compromise around the pipe.
This has been going on since February 10th.
Yeah. Right, I know, and I've talked to Ted and I've talked to Roxy, we've got emails, we've got a lot of documents, going back and asking for help, and I was here last night and I tried to discuss things with, the historic people saying
So
that.
that's why you're here tonight.
And I'm here tonight because I need something done.
Were y'all trying to work out, let me ask you one question. Were y'all trying to work out an acquisition to sell some of that property to them?
Well, Ted, in the very beginning, when he first started that project, he said, what would you think about, me just moving, just having a little bit of your, just a little bit of it? And my husband and I were like, no, I mean, you can maybe sell you from this point all the way to Brendan Billy's house, but we're not gonna cut our piece of property in a little chunk,
Right.
And so we gave him a price. He said, well, I'll think about it. And we gave him a price. We went through and we looked at other locations on property about that same size. And we gave him a price for that area. And
It didn't work out.
And then we never heard back. And then all of a sudden, construction started and we got in touch with them and said, so what about, do you still want to buy? Oh, no, we're just not going to do that. So, I guess, this is what I think, because I know Ted well enough to know he promises a lot, says he's going to do a lot, and he does a lot of other things. And I think he just probably thought, well, I can just do this, not have to worry about the drainage or anything else.
All right, we'll definitely, it's on the radar, we're coming over there tomorrow, so we'll definitely make sure that something happens sooner rather than later.
Okay.
It looks like around the field.
All right, and so the drainage is a big issue, but I have other slides. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And so the drainage is a big issue. And so the other part of it is we're going to extend that nice fence all the way to the street, but all of a sudden they're not going to. And I asked last night Joe, who is part of the person's building, I asked him, I said, can you please extend that fence? Because that's our bedroom right there. The bedroom right by the air conditioner, that's our bedroom. So all the headlights and
and all the noise and the garbage trucks, it's right there, and the garbage. And he said, well, if you think about giving us access to drain in your culvert, we'll build the fence at no cost, we'll pay for it. And I'm like, I'm not bargaining with you on that. That's crazy. So anyway, I would like to see if he could build the fence, because it's nasty. The garbage, you can click it on. See, that's the dumpster right there, and it's always overflowing, and it smells. And this is actually good. Usually in the summertime, there's 3 or 4 back there, and they're wide open, and it smells. The flies. It's horrible. We can't sit on our patio, so they need to do something different with that. And
Did they empty it?
well, they empty it twice a week, but sometimes it gets so busy, it's so full.
They need 3 times.
Don't know, I've never been called out there to look at it.
And it doesn't have the proper drainage. It doesn't have, you know how I think the ordinance is it has to have drainage, well, and it doesn't. And I've asked Ted, can't you just power wash it once a month? The smell is bad.
When we went through design review, I remember, I'll have to go back and look, because it's been a minute, but it was supposed to be screened. I mean, that is a requirement for dumpsters to be screened, so I'll go back and look and see what was required at the time and what wasn't implemented. Because it's a rollaway, because it's not a permanent, I'm not sure about the requirements. But definitely, dumpsters are supposed to be screened, especially if they've got residential. So I'll look into what he's required and what he was supposed to do.
Okay.
But it may be that he was supposed to do the fencing, hadn't, so I'll follow up with that.
Okay. Yeah, the garbage is a problem. And so,
Yeah, the garbage, the dumpster should be screened at a minimum.
yeah, and a lot of other things with the garbage.
It's
So they have a
3
lot
times
of,
a week, yes, sir.
I don't know if you've eaten over there, the food is really good, and they always give you cookies. Well, not everybody eats the cookies. And at night, I have the pleasure with the raccoons dig in there, and they don't have saliva, they have to eat with water. So they get in my water fountain, and they sit in there and eat the cookies and shit.
Well, I'm trying to make sure we get through all of this. This is,
It's just a mess.
You got a good point. I don't want to see you back. I want all this taken care of. I mean, that's awesome.
I'm not
You
sure.
shouldn't have to live like that.
Yeah, we honestly should have had this, on new business or something. This is general public comment. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look through that. We'll come visit you tomorrow and address all of this. And now that it's on my radar, I'm gonna stay on it and I'll give it to Roots folks, and we'll get a solution to your problems.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, if anyone else would like to address the board for 3 minutes? And seeing none, we will move to Alderman's forum. Mr. Gillies?
Yeah, Carolyn, last meeting, I think it was, that I had asked you to look into maybe possibly some fishing reefs for the pier, city pier.
Yeah.
All of them in Jessamine Pier and the other.
We started looking, I haven't identified anything yet, but I haven't had a chance to go through some sources. I have a feeling if nothing else, we can look at Highland funds for next, but that's a couple years out. So, I have a few more sources I'm gonna look through, but I just haven't identified anything else.
Well, what I'd like to see is, DMR, they do reefs. If you see them with the barges with all those crushed limestone on it, they do reefs all the time, every summer.
They do,
reefs.
there's a couple of other smaller groups, in the Gomesa and not Gomesa, the Goma group. So I just haven't had a chance to follow up with that, but it's on the list.
Well, these reefs are for local fishermen.
Right.
Casting distance, not way out. I see they do put some reefs way out by the channel out there. But these are just casting distance,
I
as
think
local fishermen.
one of the really fundable ways to look at them is the environmental quality and the supportive habitat, so that's what I'm looking at. that's the way the funding source would look at them, so.
Well,
But it would serve a
DMR.
certain purpose, yeah.
Probably one phone call, DMR.
Yeah, but it's, we gotta get in their cycle of funding, so.
If they got money to do that, they just add that to the list. You know, like I said, there's a lot of reefs that they build, these are just for, catching just some local fishermen. Because we have a lot of people that don't own boats, they just wanna fish off the river. And then they have that, JC rodeo, on the little fishing pier, at the outside of the Ocean Spring Bridge.
Yeah, it's on my list, I haven't been able to find something yet, but I'll put it back to you.
Well, Alan did a good job in Monticello Woods on that drainage ditch. Got really happy. He just wants some more seed.
Yeah, we got a little more seed, a little more topsoil after this next rain to put in there.
And that little, island right there, that cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people dump there.
Put the no dumping signs up, they pulled them up that weekend and dumped on top of it.
I know, I had them, one neighbor wanted them and the next neighbor wanted them pulled up. So I think the whole neighborhood got together and they decided we want them pulled up. So they pulled them up and then I think Lloyd went out and got them.
Yeah.
Picked them up. But from them putting, yard debris out there, y'all pick it up and you wind up digging up that little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, Mike's gonna look at putting some topsoil out there, dressing that up.
That'd be great. That's all I got, man.
John, on that cul-de-sac, on that spot, I actually had a phone call from one of the residents, and he thanked us for following through with that, and said now the neighbors are actually putting it at the end of their driveway, and y'all are picking it up the next day, so.
I know the whole
working out good.
Well, that's where civic association comes in handy, you know, and they just don't want them out there. I don't know what it is.
I got one thing for Carolyn. Carolyn, so it looks like the county has a good chance of taking over the property down by the harbor. I don't know if you heard that yet.
I've heard bits and pieces, but I haven't been involved in them. You talking
What's
about the harbor grant?
Yeah. And they're gonna extend that for boat parking and stuff.
Well,
If it goes through the way they're trying to do it. So
Yeah.
my question is this, the aluminum fence is not gonna work back where it was. You know, we've already repaired it,
Correct.
I think 2 or 3 times since I've been in office. What do you think the chances would be to reach out to the county and see if we can repurpose the fence that they have, the wood posts with the rope, and bring that over there?
well, just a couple of things. I mean, that's, you know, whatever you want to put there, as long as there's a fence there that keeps vehicles and just delineates it, the private
Right.
property from the right of way is fine, however y'all want to do that. I don't know much about the conversations they had with the Harbor Green. The reason that the posts were put there is because the funding did not allow it to be used for a parking lot. So that's why those posts were there. However, there is, the way it was developed, there is room to have vehicle access from their current parking lot. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. There's no curb cuts really there. It was, the sidewalk was.
Right, the
was
sidewalk
going-
kind of curves around.
So I think it would need to be looked at overall in conjunction with the sidewalk before it was just determined. So it's kind of 2 different issues. I'm not sure how they're gonna if
Yeah,
they
they might not
repurpose
mess
it.
with that fence well.
They may not, I mean, there may not be a reason. You may want to control that access and have it actually just all come through to one spot and then have it connected for overflow. That would make more sense as an overflow parking, have it connected with existing. But they're kind of 2 separate things. I think that the best thing to do is if it looks like they're going to be able to take it back, and if the funding source will allow them to use it for parking, then we just look at an overall plan, because we've also got all that landscaping in there that we have a tri-party agreement with the county and the city and DMR. So that would have to be redone, obviously, if DMR is not a partner. So there's a couple of moving parts there that I think would need to be looked at. But overall, if you can repurpose them, sure, as long as a fence of some sort is put where the aluminum one is.
Because now we're starting with the repairs and stuff,
Yeah.
we need to, that's something.
Yeah, we had talked about, I had been asked before of replacing that with something that was more similar in style. And, you know, the answer is yes, that the agreement with the property owner was just that there be a fence there.
What about extending it along where the orange fence is?
Well, that's kind of a temporary, it was supposed to be temporary, but, yeah, and that's just to keep parking there. So it would be something that would be temporary, not permanent. And that's something that's on private property, the other is on the right of way. But we could certainly coordinate that.
Yeah, that'd be easy, if you did most of the road like that, it'd be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. and
That's
that way
something
if
I
the
could
water
talk to the
comes up, it
property
kinda
owner
goes
about.
through it. It never damaged the other part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the Water's Edge, HOA has requested that I use part of my water funds for the Water's Edge neutral ground. That they've got some trees, bushes, plants, and things like that that they want to buy in or replace. So I want to make a motion that we, we spend $1,099 of my water funds to pay it to the Water's Edge HOA, plants, roads, and trees.
All right, Mr. McKinney, second, Mr. Melvin, any further discussion?
You sure we're gonna spend that much money?
Yep.
We'll put it on the wall.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, Mr. Lyman?
Kind of along the same lines, I've sent Vicki an email request from the Evil Place HOA. Been working with them for about 6 months on adding additional lighting in the neighborhood. There's some dark spots in the right of ways. And seeing whoever's been out and giving them a price, so I'm going to get effective motions to give the Evil Place HOA $1,000 for 5 funds for additional lighting in the city right of way.
All right, motion, Mr. Blackman. Second, Mr. Hempy, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
2 weeks, Carolyn, 3 weeks, 4 weeks on the sidewalk project. Where are we at? Are we closed? Can we move it on? And
Yeah, in fact, I emailed today with the engineer. I mean, we're still plodding forward. In fact, we've received one of the bridge spans, the other's coming tomorrow. They're having a problem with supply chain and getting delivery trucks. That's just been the holdup with receiving the bridge spans. But we've received
delivery
one.
trucks?
They've been having a hard time securing delivery trucks. They're
think
coming
so?
they're coming from North Alabama.
It says trucks up there.
Yeah. So, well, they're coming down slowly. It's not slowing down the project.
We don't have a truck that pick it up. We don't have a truck that can pick it up.
Yeah.
Have access to some, so.
But the real thing that's been slowing it down is not that. I'm just glad that they are coming in and we've laid eyes on them and they are good to this point. There were some, not to get bogged down in details, but there was some submittals and some logs that have not been found from the previous staff. So we're working with MDOT to let us just go ahead and close out with what as is. And I had an email on that today, and I'm gonna push that again tomorrow. But we have already been moving forward with phase 2 preliminary design, and that is well underway. So regardless of closing this out, I think MDOT is fine. As soon as we're ready to go, we should be able to start. Because what they're doing is they're not closing it out, they're just adding another line. Yeah, so it shouldn't slow down phase 2 while we are still closing out phase 1.
How long is that gonna take once they get started, Rob?
Well,
Do you have any idea?
the difficult part is gonna be the road closure. I
They have
spoke,
dirt piles.
they've got to dry pilings, and due to the size and the location, there's probably going to be at least a 2-week period where that road is completely closed.
So we're looking,
Really?
at the best start date would be in the May. when
Yeah.
school's out.
And then it's a matter of, working.
Can we have all the i's dotted, t's crossed before then?
I think so. I think we're on the way. And like I said, MDOT has, I think we can take these paths concurrently. So even if they're still arguing over some of the closeout paperwork, we should be able to get the PS&E and everything, continue to move that project forward. The most difficult thing is once we're ready to go and we know what the timeline is gonna be, coordinating with the schools for that at least 2-week period. It's just because of the width of the roadway and the right-of-way and the length of the pilings. The pilings, when it's been reevaluated, the width
short,
notwithstanding, have to be as long as they are because of the suitable soils. They have to go that deep.
Do we have geotech reports?
Yes.
Can
And
you
they got
forward me
them
those?
reviewed and updated,
Can you
so.
forward me the geotech, please?
Yeah, I'll get them from them. So, but, and I spoke to him verbally, I haven't seen them, but he updated me verbally last week and did confirm that that length, maybe not the width.
175 feet.
Yeah. But it takes that long to get to the suitable soils, the muck is just prevalent. So that's gonna be the difficult part, and once we have that, we'll have to coordinate with the school and work around that schedule to try to be as minimal, but it's going to be an impact. There's really.
Y'all do that, James?
No, that's BMA's doing things.
Well, it sounds good that you're saying we're going to coordinate with the schools, I mean, we're going to get it.
Oh, it's gonna happen. I mean, it'll probably be during the, as far as construction, unfortunately, it's probably gonna coincide with, early fall, by the time they're under construction.
The biggest part's gonna be driving piles, getting piles in, then it's cake after that. So-
And it's finding that 2-week period that maybe it's not as much, at least give them enough time to deal with the school buses, let the public know, and, yeah, it'd be great, but either the summer or Christmas break, either somewhere, no, but.
Let me ask this, since we're on piles, are we not driving the same way we did the first bridge at Davis Bayou?
I don't know, but there's also a power line issue that they have to work
We had
around.
to relocate those two back then.
Yeah.
If you recall, we drove the piles from the barge section. They went in, they gave permission to mat the marsh grass because it pops right back up. They rolled out, they drove the piles, they rolled back out, picked the mats up, and within 2 weeks the grass was right back up. So
For some reason, I'm thinking no, but I could not answer that question right now, but I'll get an answer.
let's look into that option because that was a DMR approved method. That could alleviate the road load.
For some reason, I want to say he looked at it, and there's a reason, but I'll have to.
Maybe it's
confirm.
too deep,
Yeah.
too deep in the bug
Yeah.
there. But you need to look at all
He was
options.
surprised at the levels, the depth that the muck went at that location, so that may have something to do with it. I'll find out.
I want to see the geotext because I want to know if they pushed the CPT probe in or if they actually did borings.
Okay.
Because if they just did CPT, we don't know what we got.
Okay, I'll get that.
We never trust those.
I did.
That's all I got.
Forgot to ask you earlier, Alan, any estimate on
They were supposed to start this week, and I got a call into Jonathan Bond this morning, but he hadn't never called me back yet. I'm trying to get in touch with him first thing in the morning.
Southern Town?
Anytime.
All right, I don't have anything else.
All right, well, we do have executive session items, so is there a motion to go into closed session?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session, see if we need to stay in executive session.
All right, motion, Mr. Gill. Second, Mr. Cox, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, for everybody, for our next meeting after we adjourn, it will be, normally it's on the first Tuesday, because of the election, it'll be on Wednesday, Wednesday, April 7th, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I've been
Hey, how's it going? You doing good?
Got a call, they called him back, said, we need assistant coach, you interested? We said, yeah, I'll come back. Nick State University.
This guy.
But they eat good.
Yes, sir.
Like I'm looking at that one and it doesn't look like it's too far away. So it looks clear on that one next to
It's so
We got a little.
I'm trying to get together. We'll get it moving.
I'll go and check. Be careful though.
Hey, Ken.
Did you?
I didn't go to it, the game either, but I just transferred season tickets over for this year.
Well, so did I went ahead
And I already paid them, so it transferred. What I might do is upgrade my season tickets and pay what I want to pay this year. And just have it. They give you out. I do like high information. So it's not bad. I upgrade it a little more, but they have a 12-month plan, so I can keep it low. Just trying to see where I want to sit.
So now,
we have pretty good seats. The best thing about them is they're right next to where the bathroom goes. And it's like, it's right there and then down, so it's like, you don't have to go up or down steps. And it's like,
should continue to shoot
and
low.
people that were sitting next to me last year.
No, it's
Sitting next to me next year.
Yeah,
They are entertaining. One older couple, they don't come in until at least halfway through the second quarter, and they're already roasted by the time they get there. And they saw
Pipes gone, the water's not there.
and
They
then
don't
there's the
know,
family
they don't
drama.
know when the pipe going, the water's coming that way. They can't see. They see
Teenage
it.
daughter and mother started crying when she
They don't do that on this distance. There's a box on the other side.
But yeah, I mean, the seats are
We
good,
even,
but because
we
the season
even,
ticket holders.
I even got the rooster agreed to keep the pipe, to keep it cleaned out. Told them the excessive amount of the extra water may help keep it blowed out because there's leaves there. I mean, you got any rules there, it's like triple. I figured around as a box, you know.
For nostalgia, I said, well, I'm gonna park up, and
I said, probably slept
that's
full
where I
of
was
sand.
parked, you know, and so, and I wanna hold.
Well, they agreed to keep it cleaned out, and the maintenance crew keep it cleaned
How
out.
about the goodness of those where we usually.
You know where they make Miami people tailgate that area? There's like a public parking lot. It's a decent walk, but I have to walk past it. It passes like the basketball stadium. You have to walk it anyways to get to the tailgate. So I'm like, it's $10. I'm parking in, it's covered. It's 2 roads, and I'm not going to stay if I'm not staying tonight. Because they jacked the price.
They're usually comparable, and, but we
This
kind
year's
of.
in Tallahassee.
So once they put this, once they schedule out, then we would like pick the games we wanna go to, and go ahead and try to get the. So, you know, we'd rather like stay a little bit out in a nice place and then.
I've stayed an hour outside before. On the way home.
There's a lot of.
Never seen anything about that.
There's a lot.
So the guys I go with, if my fiance comes up, we'll do the Airbnb with the guys, but it's just me. I'll Airbnb with them. It's just like a nice one.
It's great, I mean, you stay in schoolhouses, you know, so we,
now she's trying to get to see
in
them.
April, and not really the season. It's only $95 a night, so it's cheaper than the hotel, so somebody's garden house, that's behind the house, and it's like, of course, we're older, so it's like quiet, it'll be quiet, we're about.
I don't usually make the spring games because longer drives. I mean, it's longer flight. I mean, I fly.
We just need to get out of town. We will have those our vaccines, but.
I was just down in Fort Lauderdale. That was nice. But they, I do use it. I do like what's his ticket?
City shutdown.
But it's so hard for us to get out of town anyway, so.
So where'd you go?
That's why, like this year we start with Bama.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, so I might not be there. I'll make the Florida State game. I'll try to make that.
He probably only one or two home games, and sell the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to
Oh, that's.
you know, they don't pay for themselves.
Look, we drive all the way out there, we get there
I always looked at it this way.
2:30.
Well, one year I didn't have.
Yeah.
Well, the first year I
Motion
didn't
was
have.
made by Alderman Cox, seconded by Alderman Bellman, and unanimously carried to remain in executive session to discuss the course of action regarding security plans or devices within the city of Ocean Springs. Everyone is free to go, except for Chief Dudston, and they would like him in the back. If you'd like to bring a chair, bring a chair.
Is the sound on the camera right now?
Yeah.
I need to come.
Hey, how are you?
It's all right, we know what you're thinking.